What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 4-4 YouTube channel. Welcome back to another transactions video where I, Hutch, am trying to deliver you 5 transactions that you need to make in your fantasy football leagues for this week. Before I get in this video, I appreciate it if you subscribe to this YouTube channel and click that little notification bell so you'll be notified every single time a new video does drop. Also, go to the 4-4 site, 44.com. Check out that plans page. On the plans page, you're going to find a variety of plans that give you bonus premium content, and it's going to help you win your fantasy football leagues. If you want a discount, use the code YouTube when signing up for a plan to get 25% off. I've been able to check out all this content myself. Trust me, with playoffs coming around, it's going to help you win your fantasy football leagues. Use the code YouTube for 25% off. But without further ado, we got to get into this content. And again, we got 5 transactions that you need to make in your fantasy football leagues for this week. This is primarily a waiver wire show now, with trade deadlines really coming up. I'm not going to talk about any major buy candidates. I'm mostly going to be focusing on the waiver wire and drop candidates for the rest of the season. So looking at the first transaction I really want to talk about, we are going to be adding Ezekiel Elliott. Adding Ezekiel Elliott is going to be huge. Ramondre Stevenson had an ankle injury, and it's really unfortunate how it happened. It was, the hip drop tackle needs to be outlawed from the NFL. It needs to be done. It's been causing injuries all year long, and unfortunately, Ramondre Stevenson has suffered one of those injuries, and he's going to be out for multiple games per Jeff Howie of The Athletic. At least it's likely he's going to be. And especially this week, because it's Thursday Night Football, I expect him to definitely be out this week, if not more. And that makes Zeke Elliott an automatic RB2 play. I mean, the Patriots can't pass the ball. They're running the football at a pretty high rate so far this season. And there's no one else on the Patriots that can touch the football besides Ezekiel Elliott. There's just nobody else. He's going to get the primary load of the touches. The rest of the season schedule for the Patriots, when you look at the running back defenses, is pretty good in terms of fantasy points allowed. It's a pretty nice schedule. So if Zeke Elliott can be the lead back for the next 2-3 weeks for the Patriots, that's a really valuable ad you can make in fantasy right now. So looking to the next one, you're going to be adding Antonio Gibson. Brian Robinson had a tough hamstring injury and was ruled out pretty quickly. So I'm expecting him to miss at least the next week or two, if not possibly more. And that sets up Gibson to have a, possibly elevated role in this offense. And that means he's going to be a really relevant piece in fantasy. He's already been relevant at some points this year for fantasy football, but now with Brian Robinson out of his way, he could have a really, really nice stretch of games with him out. And the next one I'm going to talk about here is Jonathan Mingo. We are going to add Jonathan Mingo. He's a huge ad in fantasy football. I don't understand. I mean, I talked about this last week, but Jonathan Mingo had a breakout game this past week. It wasn't super flashy, but he had career highs in targets, career highs in reception, career high in receiving yards. And now that the Panthers are out of playoff contention, this is going to be experimental next few games. They don't care to win. So they're going to be looking for young guys. So we're trying to experiment with Bryce Young, see what he can do. Experiment with Jonathan Mingo. They don't have a first-round pick. The Carolina Panthers sold everything to get Bryce Young, which means they might not be able to draft a big-time wide receiver. So they're going to be seeing what they have in Jonathan Mingo and see, do we have to replace him in free agency? Or do we have to draft somebody second round in the draft? Because we can't draft anybody first round. We need to be able to figure it out with Mingo. So they're going to try to do the best to give targets to Mingo and see what he can do. And I'm hoping he steps up in a big, big way. So then looking towards my next transaction, we have 2 more. We're going to be streaming Garnder Minshew this week. You add Garnder Minshew off your waiver wire, you can stream him this week. If you're in desperate need of a quarterback, I think Garnder Minshew can do you a service. Garnder Minshew over his last 2 weeks has had 40+ pass attempts, and he's a solid quarterback. He's been really good for fantasy, and he seems to be loved by that Colts locker room. You saw the celebration after the win this past week against the Tennessee Titans. He was dancing in the locker room. He was celebrating. The whole team was vibing. They love him. He's a great person to have in a locker room, and he's been doing well for fantasy. I think for the rest of the season, he's going to be a streaming candidate. Specifically this week, I'm really expecting a solid game from him. He's just been on fire. And then my last one, we are talking about Tyjae Spears. We're going to be adding Tyjae Spears off our waiver wire. He's, he's about 50% roster in league, so he's not as available, but you can still find him. Last week, when you look at the Colts game, no other running back touched the ball besides Tyjae Spears and Derrick Henry. So when Derrick Henry was out of the game, Tyjae Spears got 100% of the running back opportunities. That's massive. That means if Derrick Henry's ruled out this next week, Tyjae Spears is going to get the workhorse role, and that is going to be a top 10 running back in fantasy. He's showed way too much talent this year, both as a receiver and as a runner, to not do that. So if you can find Tyjae Spears on your waiver wire still, get him on your team. But that's going to be it for this waiver wire ads show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. That's 5 transactions that you need to make in your fantasy football leagues for this week. I'm Hutch around 44 football. I'd appreciate if you're following me on Twitter. I'm at HutchinsonB_FF. And remember, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Go to the 44 website. Use that code YouTube to get 25% off. We'll see you later this week with a matchups video.